On the 5th of October 2012, AwE130 posted a video on YouTube. What happened to the LPD? That is the question, part 1. Before we start, I need to mention that in this video AwE130 shows footage from the Apollo 11 16mm film. Please note, this is a NASA film, available online. It is not owned, as Adrian states, by AwE130 archive. That is a barefaced lie. The correct link is shown at the end of this video and in my notes. That point aside, here on my own video, I will show you a still from that video, as that is all that's needed. On the still, you can clearly see the landing point designator, LPD, etched into the lunar module window on the commander's side of the craft. Adrian goes on to show an Apollo image, AS11 39 58 43. In this picture, the LPD can no longer be seen. In the comments section of this and his follow-up videos, it was pointed out to AwE that there was nothing untoward with this image. The picture was either taken through the LPD, which was my own opinion, or just to the side of the LPD. Throughout this discussion, Adrian never proffered one opinion of what had happened, but insinuated by his comments that there was some form of NASA or ALSJ trickery involved, and that it needed further investigation. In a fourth video posted on the subject, Question NASA LPD Part 3, the number 2 upside down, and in the comments section of his other videos, AwE130 pointed out reflections in the thrusters of the LPD. I'll use the term reflections, as this is as good a term as any to describe the effects seen. These reflections show parts of the LPD in the image and are clearly visible. I commend Adrian for finding these and pointing them out. As soon as I saw this, I knew that this confirmed my conjecture that the Apollo image was taken through the LPD and with the LPD out of focus. At this point, I spoke to AstroBrand2 on the issue, and in conjunction with Apollo Was Real and Gone to Plaid, a working hypothesis of what this effect was, plus a method of recreating the effect was worked out. The full theory is a bit drawn out, but in a nutshell. One of the very first forms of camera that was seen was the pinhole camera. In a pinhole camera, a small opening is made in a lightproof box. Opposite this pinhole is a piece of photosensitive material. This basic camera with no lens produced an inverted image of bright subjects on the photosensitive paper on the back of the camera, which could then be developed and the image seen. What is happening in the Apollo images is a similar effect. The pinpoint of extremely bright light coming from the convex surface of the thrusters is causing an effect basically the same as the pinhole. The image from this pinhole effect is then projected through the camera lens and inverted onto the back plane of the camera. This accounts for the inverted nature of the image, the circular nature of the reflections, the multiple images seen on the backplane of the camera, and most importantly, why the image is in sharp focus even though the thruster itself is out of focus. I managed to capture this image just prior to AstroBrand2's upload on his second debate video, which he used as part of this video. It was a very crude attempt, but it did show the effect fairly well. I later refined my images, and AstroBrand went on to use the new images as part of his third debate with Adrian and his subsequent follow-up videos on that debate. Meanwhile, on AwE130's much vaunted Daily Mail forum, which he never started himself incidentally, AwE130, in typical fashion, rather than debating our theory, decided that he needed to come up with a theory of his own. His first idea was water droplets on the LM window, in what he called the fishbowl theory. But even Adrian realised this was ridiculous and he soon dropped it. He then came up with what he called his reflections theory. He posted the following image on the Daily Mail. At the time I gave him an 8-point rebuttal as why this cannot be the effect seen on Apollo 11. I will concentrate on one of those points now, but I'll share some new things that I've found since I've recreated his experiment. Adrian says that the images on the Apollo 11 pictures could come from something reflecting them onto the window from inside the lunar module. This cannot be the case. As you can see in the Apollo images, the thrusters are out of focus and the far background is in focus. In Adrian's experiment, to pick up any reflections on the window must be in focus. This is clearly the opposite of the Apollo images. Now for the really important part. I used a mirror to reflect an image of the LPD back onto my window LPD setup. What did I find? The image is the correct way up, not inverted. When you apply a bit of thought to this, it's logic why this is the case. When you see an image of yourself in a mirror or glass reflection, the image is back to front. Note back to front, not inverted. It's impossible to invert an image by straight reflection. Now, if you reflect that image back onto the window, the image that is reproduced on the window is therefore the correct way round, because it is inverted again. So, Adrian, nice try, but no banana. You can try this experiment yourself. Reflect an image of a book onto a mirror image and it will be back to front. But if you look at this reflection in another mirror, the old infinite regression trick, the book will be the correct way round in the second image. Now let's look at another point. Let's zoom out of the number 2 on the Apollo image. Notice the size of this reflection. Why is it so small in this image but so large in my image? There are a couple of factors to be considered here. Firstly, and most importantly, I used a 35mm camera with a zoom lens. This was not the case in Apollo. They used a Hasselblad camera with a standard lens. Although the pinhole effect does not need to be focused, you can magnify the effect with the zoom lens. Additionally, a Hasselblad produces a very large, approximately 6x6 image. If the theory were correct, what we would expect to see, the effect would clearly be smaller on the backplate of the Hasselblad camera, as the surface area compared to a 35mm image is 3.6 times bigger. This is exactly what we do see. So this, again, is corroboratory proof that the underlying theory is sound. Now let's go on to look at the nature of AwE130. He sets himself up as a defender of the truth and true historical values. When debating AwE130 on the Daily Mail, I challenged him to find a flaw in my theory. What did he do? He showed Apollo image AL395502 and tried to insinuate that the sun was behind the lander. Is this the behaviour of a truth seeker? Are these blatant untruths the work of someone interested in historical values? If you look at the correct image, you can clearly see that the sun is from the left. However, this is totally irrelevant, as the effect relies on the bright pinpoint of light and the convex nature of the thrusters. The position of the sun is irrelevant, and I can prove this with these various images that I will show you, from the sun being from the left to the front and to the right.